An expensive battle that's playing out between Wall Street heavyweights, small investors, and these popular stock trading apps. So in one corner, you have these massive hedge funds that were using enormous amounts of money to bet against a group of struggling companies that's known as shorting, including video game retailer GameStop and theater chain AMC. In the other corner, you have a group of small retail investors who banded together through this online forum on Reddit. They call themselves Wall Street Bets. Now, they started buying up these shares of these stocks hand over fist in an effort to put a check on the hedge funds and make a bit of money in the process. So the stocks initially soared. AMC was up some 1,200% in a matter of days. The little guys, they were winning. But now the stocks are falling because investing apps like Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, and others stepped in to restrict small investors from trading these stocks. Now the retail investors, they are totally furious. They're accusing these apps of siding with the big Wall Street hedge funds, and the battle is now creating some strange bedfellows. Look at this. Republican Senator Ted Cruz tweeting that he agrees with Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez after she called for an investigation into why these apps suddenly stopped these small investors from trading these stocks. AOC added that she is happy to work with Republicans on this, but also said Senator Cruz can, quote, sit this one out because he, quote, almost had me murdered 3 weeks ago. She also asked him to resign. That is for another segment. Let's bring in the guy who knows a thing or two about Wall Street. He is the real wolf of Wall Street. He is Jordan Belfort. He wrote the book about his life that was later adapted into that Scorsese movie. And of course, he was famously played by none other than Leonardo DiCaprio. So, Jordan, good to see you. Welcome.
Is it wrong that I'm laughing at what you just said about AOC?
I mean, no, it's not, because you would never see the two of them, agreeing on something, but then obviously she offered much shade. But let's talk about you, and let's talk about GameStop. Right. So you know what's happening here better than anyone.
Yes.
And just to back up, a bunch of these Reddit investors, they saw that the big wigs on Wall Street were shorting these companies, and they decided to call them on it. How did they pull this off?
It's really interesting because I used to go through this way back in the 90s before there was an internet like this, and it was always the shorts against the longs, and usually the shorts are right, by the way, when it comes to the fundamentals. Every once in a while they get it wrong, but usually they've done deep research and they find something that is either, remarkably overvalued, or it's, was a great company past its prime that needs to, kind of like a blockbuster situation, which is similar to where GameStop is right now. It's shocking to me that a bunch of individual investors could muster enough buying power to do this, but it just shows you the power of the internet and forums like Reddit. Now, the problem is that the question is, are they just doing it? You said the word banded together. Now, that could also mean colluded. Like it's a very fine line between collusion and trading. So, and the reason, if you want to understand why the platforms are shutting this down, it's not, I believe it's not so much that they're on the sides of big business or big hedge funds. They have massive liability on their side, because here's what's going to happen. And I promise you this will happen. When this is over, and it will end, and all these stocks come crashing back down to their fundamental values, there are going to be lawsuits flying. And you know who's going to be named in every one? Robinhood, Ameritrade, all the platforms that did the trades are going to say, you should have known better. You knew there was fraud, because all it takes is if they prove collusion or manipulation, the platforms had a fiduciary responsibility to protect people. So that's why they're shutting these things down, because they have massive liability.
Let me jump in, because you're yes. And one of the questions is, like, is this legal? But I don't know if you read, let me back up a step. So there was this whole letter, and we have quoted part of the letter that, how shall I say, is like the cleanest section for television. This is from Wall Street Bets, and this is part of what they wrote. We don't have billionaires to bail us out when we mess up our portfolio risk and a position goes against us. We can't go on TV and make attempts to manipulate millions to take our side of the trade. What do you say to that, Jordan?
I say I love you guys, but it's laughable, because what you will do is hire a class action attorney who will file a class action and sue everybody on your behalf, and you'll have 8,000 people, average people, suing on in one giant class, and it's the same thing.
Doesn't it seem like there's two sets of rules here? I mean, for the perception of Wall Street from a lot of Americans is that you see these super ultra wealthy, some billionaires, and they're trading and they get richer and richer on Wall Street. How is this any different from what hedge funds and these activist investors do every single day?
Brooke, I'm not saying that. I'm on the side of the investor. All I'm saying is I understand why. All I'm saying is I understand what's going on, why they're shutting them down.
No, and I'm not asking you to take sides. I'm just presenting the full picture to everyone, try to follow along.
Sure, yeah. But it's not, I don't want to say I'm not sympathetic. I get it, and you're right. There's massive fraud, manipulation that goes on all the time at the big firms. We saw it back in 2008. If you watch the movie The Big Short, you can't believe they got away with this stuff where they artificially inflate the market and wait till they're out of their position, then allow it to crash and America pays the bill. You're right. You're absolutely right. So, of course, that's where the outrage comes from, because Wall Street rips off America all the time. And then now when the little guy finally had their own little chance to get in on the action, the big firms shut it down. You're 100% right.
When you look at your past, you were always sort of like a step ahead, a step ahead, a step ahead, until you weren't, and you served, prison time for running afoul of the SEC. This goes back to what you were saying off the top. Like, this is a bit more of a gray area, and you had alluded to maybe collusion. We don't know. Do you think anything illegal is happening here?
Yes, I do. I do, but I think it's illegal. I think it's illegal, but there's also something called scienta. Like, did they know it was illegal when they were doing it? I think a lot of these people were just jumping on the bandwagon, probably not realizing they're inadvertently violating these arcane security laws. The security laws are written in a way that's very gray, and you can almost always be violating them. I don't think virtually any people are actively doing that, so it wouldn't be a criminal thing. But I don't think it would be very difficult if they really wanted to go back into these chat rooms and start taking every person who said, hey, stay strong, we got to do this together. Yeah. They could actually say that's collusion. So I'm not saying it's a criminal thing, but certainly it's pretty easy for a smart lawyer to make the argument that there was collusion here going on.
We'll see what the SEC says, right? So to be continued there. But bigger picture, my last question to you is, no matter how this unfolds, this is the kind of thing that is going to now be an entire chapter in a business school book, right? There will be movies made about what has happened. That there's now this opening for the little guy on Wall Street. What do you think at the end of the day, Jordan? What comes of this?
I think that all of you Redditors, if that's a word, right? You'd be better off doing the same thing you're doing. Just be a bit smarter with the companies that you pick. Pick one that probably deserves to, that's undervalued. This is a great strategy they have going. It really is. They should be more careful with the stocks they pick. Don't pick it in spite, just to spite